So the first step in building a zip line is acquiring the right equipment. There's a lot of options out there. There's a lot of companies selling kits, one and done, have everything you need built in one. And those are pretty convenient, and I looked into those. By the time I figured out exactly what I wanted, I was able to piece different companies' equipment together and get exactly what I wanted. So going from kind of the start to the finish here, we're going to anchor to a tree. So I've built these tree saver blocks just to protect the wood from the cable that goes around the tree. I built those, but you can buy tree saver blocks from these companies as well. I think a tree kit runs about $50 or $60. So that's where you start. Of course, the main component is going to be your cable. And my particular cable is 5/16 inch. It's going to be galvanized to protect it from the elements. And the size of the diameter is going to be dependent upon how far you're going. Our zip line is going to be every bit of 300 feet. So 5/16 is rated for up to 500 feet. One thing to note is when it comes to those rules and weights, you do want to pay attention to those. Safety is going to be a priority with this project for all those that are riding it. In fact, this is rated for several thousands of pounds of tension, so no concerns there. In fact, the weakest component I have on here is rated for well over 1,000 pounds. So I know safety is going to be a priority, and you want to get quality equipment and get the right equipment. This is not a project to go skimp on or go cheap on. Next, speaking of the hardware, we'll grab cable clamps and thimbles here. We'll use those in our project today. And then at the end, you're going to have to brake or stop in one way, shape, or form. So we've got a bungee system here that's going to slow the rider down at the end. Attached to this, and that'll be on the line, and it'll catch the trolley as it comes to the end. And then at the end is a stop block, which would be the permanent stop. Again, you don't want to use this as a only means of stopping, particularly if you're going down at any grade, which we will be. We'll be running at about a 5% grade, roughly, depending on how our land and terrain is set up. On the line is going to be a trolley, which is actually going to be what moves down your line, run on ball bearings here. This one is rated for 50 kilonewtons, which, if my math is correct, that's about 10,000 pounds, so plenty of security there. Got a carabiner off of that. Got a handlebar, which of course the rider can hold on to. Below that I've got attached a daisy chain, which is really convenient because it's going to allow some level of adjustability for the rider. Because if you've got riders of different sizes, they'll want to be able to hold the handlebar. And for those little ones, I've got the full body harness here. It's going to be secure. It's going to wrap around their legs and shoulders. You can clip them in with another strong carabiner with a safety latch, self-locking, spring-loaded latch, again, for safety. And then for the older riders, older children and adults can use this harness here. It's again going to be for the legs and then the waist, and then they'll hold on as well. And I guess at the very end, for tensioning the line, you'll need a couple of pieces of equipment. This is a turnbuckle, which will, once you get it as tight as you can, this will give it that final adjustability as far as how tight that line is, how much sag you have in it. You also need, as far as tools go, you'll need a come-along or some type of a tensioning device. I have one I was able to borrow. They also, a lot of these companies will rent you more or less one that you can return after you get set up. So that's the main equipment. Now on to tools. It's mostly basic tools, hammers, drills, a set of wrenches, something to cut your cable if you're having to cut it to size for your particular project, tape measure and the such. A couple ladders, of course, to reach your access points on your start and stop ends of the line. I also am fortunate to have this laser level, which is going to help me set up some of the calculations for how high I want to be at the starting point and how low I need to be at the destination. So that's going to be our first part, is doing some math and figuring out how high we need to start and where we need to end. So we'll go to that next. All right, so the next step is to calculate our starting and stopping heights. And those heights really depend on a number of different factors, including how long your line is, what the natural grade or elevation change from your starting and stopping point are, and the speed that you want to go. So for our particular line, I've kind of went ahead and filled in some information on this handy worksheet I got from
ziplinegear.com, I believe. I think I bought some stuff from them, and I'm not necessarily endorsing them, but if they want to send me some money, I'd be happy to. But nonetheless, we've got a 300-foot line. We know that we want to run about a 4% to 5% grade, so say conservatively 4% over 300 feet is going to be 12 feet drop. We know that we've got to end at about 13-foot height, 7 feet for safe distance from the line and the ground, plus 6 feet, which is a 2%, allows for a 2% sag over those 300 feet. So you've got the 13 feet at that line. At the end, you've got 12 feet drop from for the grade, and then our elevation change was 2 feet. So, and I used the laser level in this case to figure out what the difference was between. So our elevation change was 2 feet as we measured by a laser level, which told me what level is here versus down there. Your other options are using just a sight level from your starting point to your end point, or even an altimeter app can work as you've set it from your starting to end point to do the math. For us, that means our starting point of our cable is going to be 23 feet in the air, which is pretty high, exciting, but pretty high nonetheless. So we're going to work on trying to start that anchor process with our cable next. So always use good judgment when building a zip line. As I mentioned, this one's going to be pretty tall, so I will be as careful as I possibly can. All right, we're making some progress. Got the starting point anchored into our tree. If you can follow the cable up, you can see I think we ended up right at 22 feet up. So this particular tree does split. So I've secured it off this the limb off the right, but I went ahead and went off the other trunk off to the left side there for extra security. I've got the tree saver blocks installed. I also anchored the loop there. The cable ties together. So I will show you on the terminal side exactly how to do that when we're not quite so high up in the air. But I just need to run the cable down the other side, pretty much across the pond. That's why we're going to take advantage of a frozen pond today. It was your other option, and I also considered, paddling across in a boat or something along those lines. You could go across if you didn't have trees to manage to get around, but I do have some trees, so I'm going to be able to walk right across. All right, we have the cable across the pond, and in fact, I've already cut off a length here that will serve as our anchor around the tree, so it'll wrap around our terminal tree here. A couple notes to make on making this. Anytime you make a double back or make a cable, you're going to use at least 3 cable clamps. It's a little bit detailed here, but on this is considered the dead end, the end that it stops. You want the U-bolt side of the cable to hit that side. Tightening these down pretty darn snug. I think technically they call it 30 foot-pounds. And then on the inside here on this curve, I'm going to have what they call a thimble, and that'll be right set on the inside there. And then when I go to hook it up to my cable here, or to my turnbuckle in this case, it'll help distribute the force, help prevent any extra wear or tear across the cable itself. So I've got my cable, and it'll go around the tree. I've already got my tree savers up here. So I just temporarily secured them with a small nail. So I could easily just set the cable I made on top of them. And then that'll be the cable here. One thing to consider as far as distributing the forces, you'll want to make sure the distance between here and the tree is approximately a half of the diameter of the tree itself. So this tree is just under 6 feet around, so do the math and figure the diameter is just under 2 feet. So I'm looking at least 12 inches, if not maybe just a little bit more separation here to here, and then my turnbuckle will start. So we'll attach that up, and then we'll go from there.
All right, so we've got the turnbuckle attached to our cable around the tree here, the anchor tree. I went ahead and wrapped a ratchet strap, double wrapped it temporarily above our main anchor, and that's going to allow us to use our come along here to tension our line. So from the double wrapped ratchet strap, I've got a cable just for convenience sake to make it a little bit easier, a little bit lower to manage away from the tree. And then my come along's across here, and I've got a special attachment for the cable itself here, so it's going to pull as I ratchet along. So we'll see how it goes. We're back on another nice weekend in February. I'm going to finish my zip line hopefully today. Didn't finish last week, ran out of daylight, had some difficulty with pulling the line tight. The clamp I was using was older than me, so I think it had seen its day. We got a new clamp in this week, just ordered online, and it's holding everything nice and secure. So that's going well. I've got it tensioned to about where I think it should be. We'll do a sag test later to see if it's allowing enough drop as we go put weight on the line itself. I do have this turnbuckle here already attached. I ended up attaching my come-alongs directly to that and taking it off the ratchet straps. I like that a little better. It puts some tension across the tree, so I won't lose a whole lot when I attach it. So as I attach it, I mentioned I've got the thimble here to protect the line. I'm just going to thread it through there, through the thimble. I've got my nut there, excuse me, the bolt, and then I'll be able to thread the nut on in place, and just for extra security, it's got a clip here to keep that nut from loosening and eventually coming off. So I'll tighten that with the open-ended wrench momentarily, but you kind of get the idea here. I'm going to double that cable back over itself, take out as much tension as I can, and I'll put at least 3, probably 4 clamps on there, spaced 1 to 2 inches apart. Remember the U-bolt being on the dead end of the line, this being the dead end of the line here. Then I'll slowly release the tension, and then we'll see about a sag test, and then the stop block and braking system. All right, we've got the cable clamp secured on the main line, so the line's been tensioned. I've got the come along removed, so it's just pretty much its full line structure from start to end right now. The next step is to do some sag testing. Normal line from the resting height to the lowest point with weight should be about 2% of the line. So our line's just shy of 300 feet, right at, so calculating 2%, we should see about a 6-foot drop from the resting height to a loaded height of the line. As you can see, the pond's melted since last week, so we really don't have access to the middle of the line, so our best bet is just going to be a little trial and error. I have a turnbuckle on this side, as I've shown them before, and I'll tell you, I was really surprised how much just a few turns of that really did change the amount of tension on the line. We did some preliminary sag testing, and just an inch or two of threads tightening on that turnbuckle resulted in a full foot difference in sag. So as it is here, you can kind of tell where it's resting, it's a pretty straight line. But as I apply weight, I'm about 170 pounds, and so it's got a fair amount of drop. For me, of course, I'll probably be one of the larger adults that's on it. It's mostly for my kids, but definitely want to be able to clear as we come into this landing area. So that'll play a big role in our height on the tree and the tension as well. Our next step is going to be applying the stop block, and then we'll get into the braking system. All right. Moving on to installing the stop block, I bought it individually. It does come as part of a number of the kits. It's got a hard plastic. It does have a rubber side for to impact the trolley if necessary. It's not really meant to be used as your primary means of stopping. We add a brake. Sometimes there's also spring brakes you could use too. As far as location goes, on the line you want to be at least 5 feet away from the anchor, in this case a tree. So I've measured that out. This will simply slip over there, and then it comes with 4 bolts with washers on both sides, and lock nuts as well. So I'll secure that in place with all of those bolts and nuts. Also comes with 2 of these fist grips, which they add a lot more security and stopping power. So they'll come apart and you put them together over the line. Go this way. And the nuts attach, and these in particular will be torqued down to 30 foot-pounds in place. So we'll tighten all that down, and then we'll show you how to attach the braking system. Now we're going to install the bungee brake. It comes with everything you'll need, including the stop block, the hardware, the bungee cord, and a backup sling. The brake itself, the block looks a lot like the stop block we just installed and installs very similarly. The difference being that it has this eye bolt instead of one of the regular bolts, and that's where you get your attachment with your locking ring. Will attach to that, and your cable as well, and that's what's going to secure and eventually slow you down from the end. There are some set distances that you need your brake set up. This is a 20-foot cable, and the instructions indicate that the anchor point for your brake needs to be at least 10 feet away from your line off to the side and 30 feet from your stop block. We don't have a lot of options for anchors here. I'm going to have to use this tree. It's well over. Alright, so this is the tree we'll pretty much have to use. I don't have any other options unless I were to set a post, which it will be an option down the road. But right now I want to see how this works for us. The manufacturer recommends using this eye screw here directly into the anchor, and then attached to that would be the clasping ring and your bungee cord. They also recommend a backup cable sling in case there was failure of the attachment of the screw into the tree, and that again would go through that clasping ring there, locking ring. So that'd be pretty much your setup with this secured, and then to the line that I showed earlier. Test number 1. I've got everything secured, the brakes in place. I've got a bucket full of bricks. So I'd guess it's about 50 pounds. So that's what we're going to see. If it's going to make it across, and we'll see what the impact looks like. There goes nothing. Alright, that could be a problem. I was worried about that. We'll do some problem solving. Alright, test number 1 went pretty good. We made it down across successfully. The bungee brake slowed it down at the end. That we could see that. I couldn't really tell if we made it all the way down to the stop block or not. I was afraid of where we might end up, and as you can tell, we've bungeed back and sprung back over a low spot, which is over the pond. So we'll do some problem solving with that. It might involve someone always being on the other side of the catch, the rider. I also noticed on this the sag maybe seems a little bit lower than I want, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the turnbuckle a little bit and tighten that up. We'll take the paddle boat out and retrieve it for now and run another test. All right. Test number 2 went pretty well. We learned a few things. In fact, first on the stop block and the braking system, they seem pretty well positioned. The heavier weight, we ran 150, 170 pounds down the line. It made it pretty much to the stop block, but didn't hit it too hard, so that's good for your heavier riders. Second, we know as far as stopping 150 pounds of bricks and running a camera can be very difficult. I still think we'll be able to do that with the smaller riders, and then a bigger rider might even be able to put their feet down and touch. Third, as you can see, the buckets are running a little low, so that extra 100-pound weight definitely added some sag to the line. So I'm here going to run this turnbuckle. I've got about 4 more inches I can bring out of the line. So hopefully that'll be enough to keep the heavier riders from skimming their backsides on the way through. We'll see. All right, so I've got the turnbuckle pretty much tensioned to where I believe I'll need it. I'm just above the water, can barely touch the ground when I land. So I've created this makeshift rope system here that hopefully as I come in, I'll be able to grab it, and that'll keep me from going all the way back and recoiling over the pond. The last piece of safety equipment that I had to install is this redundant cable here. There's not a lot of tension on it, but it essentially is to be a backup for the turnbuckle, which the instructions do indicate cable around the turnbuckle from cable to cable. But I thought, well, why not go all the way around the tree, and that puts extra little security for these other connections that have the 3 cable clamps. So that's the system. It's up. Done a couple trials with test weight. Test number 3 is going to be me going down. Got my harness on. I'll climb the ladder and we'll see how it goes. Should be an adventure.
He's done it.
Oh, that was awesome! You gotta try that.
Okay, I will.
My gopher, my anchor, my ladder holder. One of the reasons I did this whole project. Haha, nicely done.
Woo, yes, that was so fun! Oh, that was awesome.
All right, so we finished our zip line project. Went really well. Did take a couple days, again, some starts and stops, but overall went pretty well. Hopefully you learned something. I know I definitely did. I feel comfortable with it. I feel like it was a safe system, used the right equipment. So that's step 1. Step 2 is going to be building the starting point, kind of a platform up there, and I think I'm going to use a tree stand for that. I'll make a video for that, so for anybody that might be interested, because we are coming up and off of that about 22 foot in the air, so it's quite a ways up. And then step 3 is going to be the zipline retrieval system, so I'm pretty excited about that one as well. So look forward to those videos. Talk to you later.